With hundreds of racetracks around the globe, you would think it would create diverse answers as to which is the most difficult in the entire world. But Germany went above and beyond when they created the Nürburgring. The stats alone reveal the immense gap between it and other typical racetracks. So it is today that the drivers face the behemoth, their Everest, the Ring. We'll see who comes out the victor as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. To help our audience understand the incredible size and scale of this circuit, let's head to our track guide. Welcome to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Most modern high-end series might use the GP circuit nowadays, but it will certainly never hold the respect and awe that the Northern Loop commands. Though it can be and is usually used in conjunction with the Grand Prix circuit for competitions in real life, here on iRacing, drivers can harken back to a time gone by and just run the 13-mile behemoth this place is known for. Nicknamed the Green Hell by three-time F1 world champion Sir Jackie Stewart, it is often regarded as the greatest test of a driver anywhere on the planet. Just looking at the stats will tell you why. More than 150 turns and close to 1,000 feet in elevation will pass you by in a single lap. Simply memorizing the course is half the battle for most drivers, let alone being fast. It goes without saying that this place is dangerous. Many fast corners lack runoff. There's blind apexes everywhere, and in a couple cases, even modern cars will get airborne. The list of famous turns is pretty lengthy, but some of the more notorious are places such as Fluke Lots, Miss Hit Miss, Bravery Corner, and of course, the ever-iconic Carousel. It's not just the places where you've got to move the wheel that get attention too. The Dottinger Hoa stretches for more than 1.5 miles in length. While you would think this circuit would mainly be limited to the track days most gearheads flock to for a chance to lap the ring, it still sees quite a bit of wheel-to-wheel combat. The 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, the VLN Series, and the World Touring Car Championship all still take the track to this day. Many race fans consider this the mecca of road racing, and any driver who is able to push the limits here often quickly garners their respect. DJ, this is going to be one of those make or break weeks in this championship, I have a feeling, because this is one big track.
It certainly is, Joe. There is a reason why the Nürburgring needs almost no explanation, but we're going to give you a little bit of one anyways, because in these Lotus 79s, there's a couple very important things to keep in mind. Number one, for the majority of this lap, it is all about damage mitigation. You just want to keep all four tires on the black stuff and keep everything together. You don't want to have to focus too much on trying to pass, because as we go out into the crazy green hell, it gets a little tricky. But that said, as they come back into the arena section, what we know is the modern Formula One Nürburgring circuit, that's where we can see some overtaking, going down into the Yokohama S, going down into the Dunlop hairpin. Those are going to be the two best places for overtaking on the circuit. I think the draft may play a pretty big role here today. Watch for some drivers trying to take advantage. We may see a little bit of passing out into the crazier sections of the ring itself, but I really do think it is all about trying to withstand pressure and trying to beat the driver to put pressure on the driver in front of you.
Well, we'll see it all in just a few moments. Before that, let's take a look at the championship. And it's interesting because Andy T leads by a big gap, but this is before the drop weeks are played out, and Andy does not anticipate being here today. And as I look through, yes, I do not see him competing today. He's taking this as a drop week. That'll close things in tremendously. Gernot Friesche as well might find himself a little bit closer in this fight, with Seppa and Hankel rounding out our top five. Again, it's all to play for. We also have a teams championship. DJ, why don't you run us through that?
We do indeed, Joe, and there you can see Parmalat Racing Team Brabham having a 30-point lead over Scuderia Ferrari Spa Sefik there. So it's a pretty decent advantage, but they're going to have to keep on their A game to keep that lead. Meanwhile, very close battle for second with Martini Team Lotus right behind them, and Alabad Saudia Racing Team Williams only about 5 points behind them. So a very, very tight battle there. Also, Marlboro Team McLaren not too far back. So really all to play for. A couple of these guys have bad weeks. We could see this team championship really, really get turned on its head.
And as for today's race details, also important this time because look at the number of laps. It's so long that we're only going to get 7 in for the standard time that we tend to see in this series. It is round 7 out of 12, as I said, and it is open setup. Now, this one definitely going to be a lot more about preference. However, drivers who are trimmed out will probably find an easier time trying to make positions up. There is an incident limit. However, if you see anybody actually reach that incident limit here, I will be amazed. We are in the midst of warm-up. Qualifying has actually already taken place. So drivers who haven't qualified here today, DJ, earlier on in the week will find themselves with a difficult amount of cars to overtake.
Very, very true, Joe. And the biggest thing is it's not really going to be trying to get past those cars. As I said, it's going to be about the worry that there could be a big accident. For as long and as fearsome as this track is, it's actually quite narrow compared to most modern racing circuits. And so if there is a big stack up, there may not be a lot of room for drivers in the back to go.
So as we have the last few minutes of this warm-up, we're going to be gridding up pretty soon here. This is a split race. So these are the drivers with the highest I rating that will be taking part. Now, I say that, I do need to double check to make sure that this is by I rating, not by qualifying, because with this different format, they may have separated it by that. We will be getting to that grid in a moment as we have to wait for that to go through before that should work, as we've still got some big names involved today. Simone obviously out here. Seppa Bycroft is a known ringmeister out here. He tends to take wins or podiums at this track. We'll see if he can do that again today as the last of the seconds tick down here in the Nürburgring. We are getting ready to go racing for 7 laps here at the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. Who can survive this track and take a good finish? Looks like the grid is now set, and it is Teemu Väskälänpää on the pole with Tomas Simon in second. Steve Bycroft starts P3 with Seppa in fourth. Christopher Weitz, he comes around to try and ply his trade. He starts fifth with Kochi down in sixth and Parigi in seventh. Masani will be P8. Gernot Friesche all the way down in ninth for some reason, and Mateo Fernandez rounds out your top 10.
In 11th is going to be Errol Korglu, followed by Yuka Tonelin. Pablo Suarez will be 13th, followed by Rodolfo Redente and Nick Bell, and Robert Simpkins lining up behind him. Ivan Adito will be in 17th, followed by Barry West in 18th, Coriani in 19th, and Thomas Delmuth in 20th.
21st goes to Jack Sanchez with Keith Herner in 22nd, Kloft in 23rd, Graham 24th, Korteniemi and Villa round out your 26-car field. It really is like a typical F1 race, and with it being the combined circuit, they will start here on the Grand Prix course, but they're heading off into the Nürburgring section soon. As the lights come up, the green flag comes out, and Väskälänpää looks good off the line, but so does Simone. In fact, he's already alongside him as they head down into the hairpin through the Yokohama S. Who is going to be able to come out ahead on this one? Our pole sitter's trying to hang tough, and is that Bycroft off? That's Weitz, actually, who has spun off in the first corner, but Simone's going to grab the lead.
He's going to grab the lead here, but very, very challenging here for Väskälänpää, trying to keep up close behind Seppa, keeping up the pressure as well. A little bit of a gap back to Massiani and Bycroft, but they'll have plenty of time to try to keep it. We ride on board with Seppa now.
So already we've got a change for the lead. Looks like Fabrizio might be trying to challenge, or no, that's Bycroft trying to challenge Fabrizio. This is for the fourth position. They're going to be side to side as they come off of the Dunlop hairpin. Are they going to continue this through the Schumacher S? This is very difficult, and Steve has to give it up.
Yeah, had to back out of it there, and it looks like that Weitz is now going to have a little look at Parigi, they're potentially trying to get it. We ride on board with Gernot Fritsch as he watches the whole of this battle.
Tolanen as well, trying to challenge on Bycroft from that little slip-up he made through the Schumacher S. Already we're getting close to coming into the Nordschleife portion for the first time in this first lap of the race. Already Bycroft trying to fight back once again on Maisani, but it's not going to quite work out as they come up into the Nordschleife down towards the Nord curve. Who's got the legs in one of the most difficult tracks on iRacing?
And here it starts, Joe, that wind all the way through the forest here. Now, the one thing to keep in mind as we ride on board with Vascolampi as they make their first way through the many, many turns of this circuit, one of the few passing opportunities that takes place in the Nordschleife itself will be coming up here in the early part of the lap, going up into the Armberg. That is a chance to do it on that right-hander.
Fortunately, it looks like internet connection has plagued problems for Kochi and Koroglu as they have not been able to start this race. So we have 24 out there. And here we go. This is one of the long, fast straights. Oh, Steve Bycroft is spun. He's off and he bounces back on track. There's going to be a lot of cars that are coming into him. He gets plowed into by a few, but I think maybe the rest are able to try and avoid as they eventually are able to exit out. Absolute disaster for a number of drivers there.
And I believe that was Fritsch that got caught up with Bycroft as well. So two of the early guys that we were taking a look at to maybe do something good here were taken out early. We jump back to the replay.
There's Steve. Yeah, the car just got loose, and yeah, Bycroft plowing into him. Somebody went underneath. That was the 16 of Suarez. Can we get an onboard? He barely snuck under there.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're good. Let's watch this. There it is. Oh, wow. Get that man a new driver's suit, Joe.
Just about chopped his virtual head off as he managed to go right underneath the flying car. So now the order is Shimon leads, Vascolampi second, Seppa third, Maisani fourth. That's all the same. Tolanen advances to fifth. Suarez actually up to sixth for surviving that. Redente into seventh, and Weitz, I think, had to slow up. No, he had the spin on the start of the lap, excuse me, and he is recovered to eighth already.
Yeah, he's having a really good back charge through the field. There you can see as we ride on board with, this is Suarez, and that is Weitz very, very close behind him, trying to keep this battle as close as possible with Redente stuck as the sandwich there.
Now, this is all a battle for sixth position. The car that we were on board before, that was Vascolampi chasing Shimon, as we now ride with Weitz coming through Exmula up towards Loudon Links here. He's very close behind Redente. I think he's going to be able to get a position as long as he's got a faster car in a straight line. No, he's not going to wait for the run up through Kesselchen. This forces Rodolfo to take it in deep into the Miners' corner as they now start to pick up speed and head uphill through Kesselchen.
And there you can see him poking his nose to the outside. Can he try to do it here? Off onto the grass and doesn't get it done. That's a very, very stout defense.
The track, and he goes off course again. Somehow keeps it together. Now the track does weave back and forth, so I think Redente was just trying to take the natural racing line there, and it was just a poor anticipation from Christoph as we now hop back with Vascolampi into the carousel for the first time, and it looks like he's going to be able to hold on to him through that slow corner. Heavy braking, but also a lot of bumps through there.
Indeed, Joe, and I can report, I was keeping my eye on this battle for P1. Vascolampi doing an almost identical move that Weitz was trying to do, going side by side through those sections leading up to the carousel.
We've got a wreck. Topi Cortiniemi is actually having to go through it there. And it looks like he's going to be able to come out the other side. I think he made contact with Coriani. Cristiano in the 23 is where it starts. There you see him spinning, bounces back in front of him. Oh, great job here by Topi to stop and avoid getting involved.
Yeah, very much so. Maybe we can get it on board with him on that to show just that reaction time of recognizing the car popping up in front of him. May have picked up a little bit of wing damage courtesy of that, but here we go. Yeah, you see him hard onto the binders. Probably his virtual head's a little bit sore as it looked like a tire bounced off of it, but able to keep going on the track.
You're right. It looked like he had a bit of damage on the front wing from that. Well, this has separated the cars by quite a bit in the first lap as we come back to Redente in 7th, still in the sandwich. That's Suarez in front of him. In the mirrors, you can't quite see it, but Weitz is right there.
And Weitz is really on the ragged edge, Joe, as they sling their way through the second half of the green hell. Who dives out to the outside here? Weitz thinking about a move. Didn't look like he really went for it there. I think he's just trying to get into Redente's head.
Slowing up for Swallowtail now. Oh, and a car off. That was Tolanen. Tolanen with some sort of mistake and major damage. Yeah, he unfortunately hit the wall into Swallowtail.
Oh my goodness gracious, another favorite getting knocked out here. Let's watch this. Nobody else on circuit. This may be a self-induced incident. Drives it through the corner. Oh, yep. Just gets a little wide, catches the grass, and that's going to send him around.
So there's another of our fast drivers, unfortunately taken out. Let's head back to that three-way battle we were watching. Suarez, 3 wide for a brief moment, and now Weitz is going to be able to come up alongside him. But look at this. This is what I was talking about, that straight line speed, and he's just not able to do anything now that he has gotten next to him.
Yeah, really hitting the block of air there, but ooh, very close. There was a little bit of contact. Weitz off through the grass again, but keeps it going the right way, but checks up again, and there's a little more contact.
And that's Redente. Is he going to be able to get through? They come on to the main straight one more time. Back onto the GP course. He does not get a good exit, and Fernandez, who approached along that long dotting Arhoa, has now found himself able to sneak into 7th.
Really heads up and low-key play there from Suarez. He's now going to try to do it. That's a little bit of move there from Redente, trying to get back into position, but it's not going to happen.
Let's take another look at this. This is incredibly aggressive racing for this track. I would have thought that, like we talked about earlier, that drivers would try and play it safe and just survive to the end.
That's clearly what we thought, Joe, but it is not what is forefront on driver's mind. Ooh, there may have been a little bit of contact there. That may have been a little bit rough there, but both drivers keeping it forward. There you see Weitz again. Oh, even more contact, and you see just how much he did it. Now, Joe, these cars, as we always talk about, they are powered by ground effects. I've got to imagine Weitz has got some undercarriage damage there.
I would think so. As we're going to watch it one more time. Yeah, he certainly bounced over it. Man, he did a good job of getting on the binders immediately so he didn't slam into the back of Suarez. But Weitz is still in 6th. He didn't lose a position from that, which is incredible. Back to 8th place, Redente, who was the one that wound up losing a spot in it all. They're coming through the chicane at the end of the Grand Prix course. And, oh, a look to the inside. Oh, and a spin as well. That was Fernandez who lost it.
Oh, such a good run there from Fernandez, losing it as they head back out onto the Nordschleife. Let's check out a replay.
What happened here? I was watching ahead because it looked like Christoph maybe was going to try and attempt to pass, but then suddenly a car just goes sailing off. He'd gained this spot just before he came onto the Grand Prix course. He was riding the curb, and he loses a spot as soon as he comes off the Grand Prix course.
Yeah, these Lotus 79s very, very sensitive to different kinds of track like that when you get the car up and over. But, Joe, I've been taking an eye here on Christoph Weitz's car. He's got some damage to the right front of that wing. If you look, it's turned up ever so slightly.
That could be hurting the straight line speed. He's pulling up behind Suarez yet again, and he tries to poke his nose out, coming up to the Swedish cross. He manages to get side by side, oh so close between them. This time he powers through.
That was a move done by sheer force of will for Christoph Weitz. He did not want to be waiting around behind Suarez any longer.
Great stuff. So now the question is, he's got the clear air. Before they get to another long straight, can he start to pull away?
Well, I'm not entirely sure there, Joe. Suarez looked very, very quick in a straight line coming up to this latest bit of twisty bits, but now he's got to worry about Redente. Redente looking very strong as well, trying to capitalize as we ride on board with him.
Next long straight should be Kesselchen after Bergwerks. It's the uphill where they start to climb after the Lauda links. So we'll see once they get to there. This is the period where you're probably going to be seeing that number 8 car pushing like heck, trying to see if he can get himself a bit of a gap back to Suarez. And you're right. I think Suarez instead is going to have to play defense because Rodolfo is getting closer and closer to him.
Yeah, Weitz very much looking freed up here, having the clean air in front of him, being able to pull away. But yeah, I mean, just look at how much pressure Suarez is under. Lots and lots of good attack mode here from Rodolfo Redente.
Got very close, but it's so tough to pass on this portion of the circuit. Now up through X-Mule, he gets a great run. Maybe he can stick his nose in on Bergwerks if he doesn't want to wait for the slipstream. Let's see, through the Lauda kink and up towards Bergwerks. He shows his nose, but he's not able to outbrake him. Now he's going to get a big toe, though.
He is indeed. Let's see what he can make with it, Joe. And as you said, yeah, showing his nose there. We often talk about that, the psychological game you've got to play. But look at this. He's really losing out here to Suarez. Suarez looks like he's just running away with it.
And Weitz made a lot of time through that portion. He's up to 1.7 seconds, so it's slightly coming down, but not enough to change as we once again come to our leaders. Vascaloppi pulled along in the toe of Simone, but was not able to take that lead away. Interestingly, Seppa keeping them honest. You can see flashes of him in the background, about 1.5 seconds behind.
Yeah, Severin may be playing a little bit of a waiting game here, not trying to push the car too hard. He knows what his relative pace is and just trying to wait things out. We may see him push near the end of this race to try to go for it. Doesn't want to get too tangled up and wants to run the race he wants to right now.
And Simone, remember, he can't risk this too much. He is second in the championship. His rival's not here today, though he wants maximum points, and he's not going to get the bonus for the pole, by the way. He can still grab the bonus for fastest lap, and he can still snag the win. And I think every point's going to count this season with the way that Andy T has been quick.
I certainly think so, and you really see he as well starting to pull a little bit of a gap here. Slightly surprising, but we jump back to that battle with Redente. Redente's been able to close up as the track has gotten closer, and I think that yes, indeed, Fernandez has had a problem.
Ooh, yeah, he has fallen back behind Nick Bell. Well, no, remember we saw Fernandez spin on the entry into the Nordschleife, so that's why he is back there. Lost that spot. But this battle rages on. Get a little bit of air over Flansgarden, but swinging wide. Redente struggling to get the car to turn in through that double apex, or right when he needs to be on the tail of Suarez. He'll get another chance to try to reel him in as they hit the Dottinger Ho soon. And this is up towards Swallowtail. We saw Tolanen fall victim to this corner. Different lines between the pair of them. And then the mini carousel, the second bit of banking around the track.
Indeed, trying to keep up speed through there as they go. Just looks like that at this point. Whoa, there goes Redente!
Can he hold on to it? He spins it around, but he's in an awkward spot. This is a blind corner. He's going to have to wait for a big gap. Oh, no! Ooh. Oh, that was Parigi, who narrowly scraped through. I thought for sure we were going to see a big hit.
Oh my goodness gracious. Very, very lucky there from Redente not to pick up damage. We watch the overhead replay here. You see him coming out of the left-hander there. Starts to close up ever so slightly through that banked mini carousel. Car looks a little unstable as he gets into the corner here and then drives it out. And again, Joe, just falling victim of letting the tires step over the asphalt and onto the curbing.
Here's Parigi's view. Oh, heart attack city today for a lot of drivers. I can't believe how many close moments we've witnessed. For those wondering, up at the front, Simone keeps about half a second over Vascaloppi, even with the long Dottinger Hoa. Now, I understand we've had a bit of a battle farther back between Delmuth and Via. I think this also starting to split apart. Looks like the number 25 with Thomas on board has quite a bit of top speed as he pulled away from the 9 there.
Indeed they do, but it looks like that Thomas may have a little bit of damage to the left front wing of that car, so that could be affecting him a little bit in terms of straight line. But, Joe, we're really not seeing a lot of overtaking going down that long straightaway, and I think part of what that is you're seeing a varied approach when it comes to setup here today, that a lot of these guys are going for maybe a lower downforce setup to try to get things a little bit better through the long sections, and it's compromising them their ability to pass.
Certainly, as we now come back to battle for the lead, Vascalampi, I'm starting to think, has more wing in this thing because Simone got caught through the Grand Prix section where you definitely want good ground effects as they head towards High Oaks. Vascalampi should start to gain once again here, and then up towards Flugplatz and down towards the Swedish Cross. I anticipate that 6 is going to fall behind. Let's watch.
Yeah, you can see it. You can visibly see it on the screen. Vascalampi losing time. So, Joe, I think you're right. Definitely running a little bit of a higher downforce setup, and Shimon driving this thing on the ragged edge a little bit more trimmed out.
They did manage to get the slipstream, so it is pulling him in. It's helping Vascalampi, but you would think it would be a lot more, 180 miles an hour through the Swedish Cross, blind left-hander before you brake hard into Ehrenberg, and then back downhill into compression. Vascalampi making Tomasz work hard for this one.
Really and truly is keeping him honest, and I think for Vascalampi, he just wants to make sure that everything is good. We jump back to that battle for P13 as Via has lost 2 spots out of that battle.
What happened here? Let's take a look at the replay. I think 1 spot here. Yeah, you're going to see him coming out of the Grand Prix course, and Kloft is behind him in the blue and green. So he just get a little loose. Oh, he's slow for some reason. That was weird.
Interesting. It seems like he almost let him go there, so not sure what the justification was. Maybe just a little bit of sportsmanship coming out of that, but we jump back up to that battle for P1, and Vascalampi just very much confusing me here, as I would expect him to be a lot closer through the twisty sections.
Definitely. By the way, Kloft has been on a tear. He started 23rd. He's currently in 12th and is also challenging Delmuth. We'll jump, we have jumped back to that here on screen now. And he's got a good shot to gain yet another out of Ehrenberg, plunging down the hill. Not really much of a passing zone out of compression and into Audenauer Forest. In fact, an incredibly tricky spot to get the car woed up.
Yeah, very much so. You know, these Lotus 79s with the ground effects, they love running at high speed. Ooh, I think that's a little bit of an error there from Delmuth ahead. Oh, no, that's a slow car. What's this? What is he doing? Is he letting it by as well?
That's what it looks like. Just trying to see if... Yeah, so either he spun the tires up a little bit or just decided it's not worth trying to challenge him. I think that's kind of what we were talking about before. Those are the drivers that don't really care about, you know, losing the spot. They'd rather let the car by than be under the pressure and risk making a mistake.
Yeah, I certainly think that there is a definite place to hang your hat if you say, you know what, I finished a race at the Nürburgring. And so that could be what we're seeing here. But we're jumping back up to that battle. This is Fernandez trying to chase down Bell, who's been able to move his way in front of the number 10.
Indeed. Remember, we saw Fernandez make a mistake earlier, give up a position, so he should be faster from what we've seen before. But being faster around here is one thing. Actually managing to overtake is a whole nother skill at the ring. He's trying to stay patient for the time being, just riding behind. They break for Stylstrecke. Almost at the top of the hill. Oh, big slide there for Bell coming around the corner.
Yeah, I think he's definitely feeling the pressure from Fernandez. There you see Fernandez being very smart into the carousel, giving him lots and lots of time, trying to wind it up a little bit more to get a good run out of there. Now, not a lot of good overtaking opportunities, but these guys have to be careful. Parigi, that is him behind in that white and red machine, really starting to close in.
Ooh, mistake there from Fernandez. Loses a little bit of time. And indeed, yes, Parigi in the 12, the red and white car that is suddenly very close to them, working their way through Wipperman. Then the track is going to compress once again into Ashbrook and back downhill towards Brunchen. These three tied together at this stage in the race with still plenty left to go. We're going to get 4 to go at the line. Now, Redente, one of those that has also lost positions from mistakes, currently catching up to Cortiniemi, who is, I believe, another one who also had a bit of a problem and has come back into the fray.
Indeed, he has, but we saw that good pace from Redente earlier, and he is now all over the back of that number 7, just trying to push his advantage as much as possible. Ooh, a little bit wide there for Cortiniemi. That's going to be tricky. Here comes Redente trying to do something here. Not a lot of good overtaking until they get to the long straightaways, but you see the constant pressure he is just putting on the number 7.
Yeah, the Topi obviously had the problem through the carousel earlier on where he got held up by a wrecking car, so that's what cost him time. Unfortunately, not a good run through the mini carousel there for Rodolfo as we once again look at our leaders coming now to 4 to go. Simone still holding it about half a second over Teemu. Just can't seem to get what he needs to try and attack.
Indeed, no, and not sure if that is a conscious decision on Teemu's part or what exactly it is, but we're going to jump back to that battle we've been taking a look on as we are flying in a nice little flying V formation between Suarez, Fernandez, and Parigi.
And that was Bell losing 2 positions, just not quick down the Dardanelles. So Fernandez and Parigi up into 7th and 8th respectively. Alessandro trying to come back after being involved in an incident. Started from 7th, he's back to 8th. And unfortunately not able to attack down into the Yokohama S, though a little wide of the first part for Fernandez. Is this going to give a shot off the corner? No, Parigi can't quite get the power down.
I have to say, though, Joe, that Parigi, one of the first guys I've really seen been able to take a lot of advantage of the draft down that long straightaway. So I think Parigi may be running a little bit more trimmed out, and he may be able to take advantage and get some good straight line speed.
So as we watch them through the Dunlop curve, the Dunlop hairpin, and back out of it, I always felt like this felt so out of place on the Grand Prix course compared to the rest of the track. Just such different nature between them. As this has been happening, there we see Simone and Vascalampi. Tomasz in the red car, Teemu in the dark number 6. They are back onto the Nordschleife yet again. And Teemu, who needs some of that straight line speed out of High Oaks. He's within about 0.7 of a second. He's going to get the slipstream again, but I don't think he's close enough to really be able to use it to attack here.
No, he's pretty far back compared to where he has been, about 7.5 of a second right now. You know, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to take a look on the next time they get to some of these long straightaways. I have to think that there may be a little bit of lifting from Vascalampi. Maybe he is just trying to play this cool a little bit and waiting to attack until the last couple of laps.
That's a good question. Maybe he doesn't want to be all that close to that car if he knows he's got a better pace and can kind of take it when he wants. Down towards the foxhole and into compression they go once again, weaving their way throughout. It's also staying close between 7th and 8th, Fernandez and Parigi, who I think are coming towards one of the long straights now. Yes, they just went through Fluke Watts themselves. Here we go. Let's see if Alessandro can do what Vascalampi did not.
Certainly gaining in a little bit as they make their way through the kinks there. You can see the draft coming into effect for Parigi, 178, 109. Oh, big wiggle there from Parigi. That is going to prevent him from making any sort of assault here.
Out of Ehrenberg, he still keeps the number 10 under threat, where we just saw the leaders fly through. That tells you the gaps that start to grow between these cars, the difference between the laps of these drivers in this race. We're barely halfway through, and they're full 45 seconds behind. At most tracks, that would be a full half a lap, if not more.
Yeah, but obviously at the Nürburgring, currently Simon's sitting on the fastest lap with a 7:26. So a little bit longer of a lap around here, as it were. Little bit of a wide exit there for Vascolampi as he tried to go through the curbs. Looks like he's running a little bit more on the ragged edge.
Yeah, but this is out of Bergwerks. So let's see. Into Kesselchen. The power of that Ford Cosworth starting to be unleashed as they climb up the hill. He's way far back now. This is 9/10, 8/10 of a second.
Yeah, this is normally where we'd see him gain up a little bit more. So Shimon now going to have a little bit more breathing room, I would imagine. But Vascolampi able to claw it back a little bit, coming in on about a half a tenth here, half a tenth there. He's got it down to about 6.5 tenths as they make their way through the curve.
Up at the top, finally, and braking once again into Stylstrecke. Gets it back down to 6/10 of a second. And Severi Seppa, I notice, is still behind them by only about a second and a half. But we now check in on the next close battle to climb up that hill. Fernandez and Parigi, we ride on board. Let's continue to watch here from the roll hoop. I want to see what it's like from this perspective, climbing and climbing through the trees.
Joe, it is just an absolute battle of will. You want to keep your right foot down as much as you can. Little lifts here and there. Parigi really able to close in as the cars continue on at high speed. Oh, big mistake for Fernandez. How did Parigi get through that?
Whew, and barely getting off the track in time. Fernandez is not hit by Nick Bell, who just flowed through behind as well. My goodness. Did he just touch the grass, or how did he get loose there? This should be flat out the whole way up, I think.
I think he may have clipped a little bit of the grass. Here's the incident. Yeah, you see him get a little wide there. Yep, It was a double touch on the right side. You saw that car get unsettled before they made their way through the left-hander, and then that caused him to get wide again, touch the grass, and it's one of these things about the cars, about these cars.
We need a replay on Shimon. Something happened to Shimon. Where is he?
He's towed, Joe. He has had a problem.
Oh, my goodness. So suddenly the lead changes. Here's the replay. This looks to be, I think, is this, yeah, out of Vipperman and into Ashbrook. He just went wide and very similar, wheels off, and that might be why Vascolampi was hanging back. That gave him enough time to react.
Now let's take a look on board here. Does a good job avoiding the curves there on the left side, but runs the car wide. And once you get off into that grass, these cars very easy to get into a tank slapper when they start to get sideways. You've got to be very careful about it. Let's ride on board here with Vascolampi. Watch the avoidance. This is really heads up from the finish, driver.
Man, inches to spare. Holy cow. Honestly, if he was any farther back, he probably would have ran into him or had to go off track himself, which I'm almost certain would have resulted in himself wrecking too. So Vascolampi now our leader, but Seppa now can sniff a win, and he's 1.2 seconds behind. It is a battle between the Finns with a huge gap behind Amaisani, who gets promoted to third.
Indeed, and now it is time, I would have to imagine, for Seppa that he knows that there's not a battle. If he was holding back and just waiting for things to come to him, this is the moment that I would start to expect him to start to push a little bit. And indeed, had about 0.3 of a second over Vascolampi on that last lap. Now, that's obviously, I'm going to imagine that Vascolampi lifted a little bit as Shimon had that problem, but definitely has a little bit more speed there.
So what has this done for the remainder of the race as well? There you see the difference in the laps. We don't get a full 5 laps even on our comparison, as such as the length of these circuits around. Interesting to note that Maisani is actually still in a fight for that podium with Christoph Weitz. These are two drivers coming up from 8th and 5th respectively. We've hopped on board with the DH driver running at what is, I guess, sort of a home track for him. We're not sure if he's coming in from Germany or somewhere else.
And not entirely sure, but remember, Weitz was in that battle earlier with Redente and Fernandez all the way through and was able to move his way up through the field. So he is really on a tear here. Now with that final podium position in front of him, Maisani, it is within reach. Very, very far back, though, of Seppa, about a 27-second gap.
Yeah, he fell back. Remember, he spun on the first lap in the first corner. It looks like, from what I'm checking, he was back as far as about 12th place from that. So for him to be looking at a third, this has got to feel like a victory.
Very much so. He's going to be very, very happy with that. And you see how much he is able to close in here. And now this is important. That Maisani really hasn't had a whole lot of pressure over the course of this race, so we'll have to see how he responds to that yellow machine of Weitz closing in and bearing down on him.
And sadly for Jukka Tolinen, who wrecked out early on this race, he has sent us a message in the background that he's a bit sad we won't have a Finnish podium, or looking not likely to have one. The next Finn down, I think, is Korteniemi in P9, and he's a ways off of getting that podium finish, unfortunately.
Yeah, really is not going to be a thing for him, but we continue to watch this battle. This is, Weitz making the move!
Just has the speed and easily breezes past before they go through the Swedish cross. Fabrizio looks like he maybe put a little bit too much downforce on it. As they come out of Ehrenberg, he sees that yellow number 8 start to pull away.
Yeah, indeed he does. And now Weitz, I imagine, based off of his pace earlier, is just absolutely gonna fly down the track.
The race has definitely seen its fair share of attrition. Oh no, do we have a problem with Kloft? Kloft, who is coming back forward, seems to have lost a spot. The 24 looks like he may have spun it. Let's take a look at the replay. That's going to hand a position back to Sanchez. This comes on the entry into the Nordschleife.
Indeed it is. We've seen a couple of this corner catch out a couple of drivers earlier, so able to get through that. Ooh, just a little bit too much speed coming through there. I think spun the tires on the rear end a little bit. Not entirely surprising. Eagle-eyed viewers will notice that he's got a little bit of rear wing damage, but let's ride on board and see this. Brings it through the corner, and yeah, there you can see it. The car just starts to go away. Good job of him, though, to catch it there and not make that spin any worse.
And honestly, I don't blame him, because that is a shockingly difficult corner. I've always struggled with it. But our leader, Vascolampi, up to 1.8 seconds. Maybe he really was holding some in reserve, because he's putting a bit of distance on his rival. And I was about to say before we had that spin that attrition has expectedly reared its ugly head. Those who have left the race, Cristiano Corani and the 23, Tolinen has been taking repairs, but I don't think he's going to be getting back in this one. Bycroft is out, Simpkins, Frisha, and Villa. Shimon is also taking repairs, but I don't think you're going to see that number 3 return to the track.
No, these cars, there's not a lot you can do once you pick up damage on them. It is very, very easy to get that meatball flag and then that lovely message that just says too much damage, we're done for the day.
So this has now become one of our closest battles. This is between Seppa and Vascalompi, split between 2 seconds. Kloft and Sanchez, the other close one, also about a second and a half between them. Everybody else, it really is in survival mode out here, as it's not racing each other, it's racing the track.
Yeah, very much so. And crucially here for this battle, for the lead, Seppa with the full 2 seconds back, that's going to be out of effective draft range. He'll be able to pick up a little bit on the straight, just a little bit of a benefit of that broken up dirty air. But for the most part, he is not going to be able to really get as much speed as he would if he was closer. Trying to claw that in. He's keeping it relatively consistent at about 2.1 right now, but it's now or never time for Seppa, because if that gap gets much longer, he will get absolutely no benefit.
So I think this will be the first full lap on his own for Vascalompi. So I'm curious to see what the pace difference is going to look like once he comes back across the line. Back to Parigi. Oh, he is caught up to Suarez once again. So this now is our closest battle. The number 12, who started in 7th, now above where he began this race. So he has a net gain. Suarez, however, has a big gain from 13th on the grid up to a top 5 here today, with his mirrors becoming full of the Italian, getting ever closer. It is early in the morning, as you may have noticed, with the golden hues that we're getting out here in the long shadows as it continues to rise. It's about 9 a.m. virtual standard time here in Germany.
It is indeed, and as we always like to sort of point out with these cars, as we watch Suarez and Parigi making their way through the mini carousel there, you know, you don't ever take tires in these cars. They like it a little bit warmer. It takes a while for the for the tires to heat up, but once they do get in that operating window, very lovely. And here comes the move from Parigi. Very early on that straightaway, you see Suarez going what will end up being a defensive line, but Parigi just breezes on by.
I think Suarez actually lifted a little bit to facilitate that. Yeah, because he knew that this would happen. He's going to come right back at him and try to get it back. But again, we're seeing that wall of air slows up the cars so quickly. Are they going to try and go side by side? Last time this happened, this didn't work out well into Tiergarten. They are, and they bang wheels. Unfortunately, it's Parigi who becomes the victim in that one with a hard hit into the Armco. How much damage does Suarez have with that bang?
Oh, we jump back and take a look at the replay. As you said, this is next level strategy here from Suarez to be able to pull back into the draft and go. And then he just decides to stick with it, as does Parigi. They come side by side, little bit of a pinch there, come through the kink, and just a little bit of a hip check. And very tough break for what has been a good day for Parigi.
I'm going to watch it one more time from on board Alessandro. I kind of expected this to happen, to be honest. I think there was a tiny bit of net code involved, but that's a risk you take trying to enter that corner side by side, and it was 12 who paid the price. Since that happened, we had another battle start to get close. Nick Bell and Rodolfo Redente there for 6th place. Oh, and wide into the corner, trying to square off the exit. Nick Bell opened himself up for attack.
He did. And remember, this is a recovery drive here from Redente, trying to make his way back up through the order as they try to go. And Joe, I can report that that damage for our early leader, Shimon, was terminal. He has disconnected.
We are down to 18 cars left running. Parigi did have to come into pit lane. The last driver running our Dory Award, if you will, as we have deemed it over the years, is Ivan Di Audio. So he's a lap down, but he is still cruising.
is indeed. And sometimes, like I said, just finishing at the Nürburgring can be good. Keep watching this. This is a different battle, the battle for 10th. This is Jack Sanchez, the American, trying to make up a little room here on Kloft.
Yep, watching from on board Jack. And Elijah Kloft has been on a bit of a roller coaster ride, not just because of the elevation changes around here, but he's been up and down the order. Ooh, block up there from Sanchez. Clearly still pushing hard. He can get away with over pushing here on the Grand Prix course, not so much on the ring.
No, not really. The ring is not where you want to do it, but this is that battle that we were looking at as Redente has been able to get by Nick Bell.
So where did this happen? You know what? This was a mistake. This is worth a replay. Nick Bell, I think, in High Oaks. Yeah, you're going to see it in High Oaks, and this is very tight between Rodolfo and he, as he just about scraped through. So it's coming after these set of corners. There's a left and a right, or right and a left, rather, that is High Oaks. It takes you towards Flugplatz. Yeah, car just got loose.
Yeah, big wiggle there from Nick Bell. Good for him to gather it back under him. We'll see exactly how this British Isles driver is able to hold on to the car through there. Oh, yeah, that was really precipitated. He just caught way too much curb, and that upset the balance of the car. Not unsurprising, Joe. The ground effects, they need these cars to be absolutely planted to the track, and taking too much of that curb, it messes up the Venturi tunnels underneath the car, and that causes the car to get very, very unstable.
It was a great catch, and even though I'm sure he's sad he lost the position, he's got to be glad that he's still in this race. We're about a lap and a half to go at this stage. Vascalampi still our leader, as you see him now on screen. Seppa's closed it back in. It's 1.5 seconds, ebbing and flowing back and forth between the 6 and the 4.
Yeah, not exactly sure where Seppa has been able to gain this time back, but now that gap looking like it is holding steady as they work their way through the carousel. A little bit of a lock up there for Seppa.
There is the time differences, and oh my goodness, I definitely think Shimon was holding back Teemu. I just looked at the lap difference, and it was a 7:24.8 for Vascalampi last time by. Prior to that, his quickest lap was a 7:26.8.
Yeah, so I think you're right on that, Joe, that either Shimon was holding him up or Vascalampi just holding back a little bit of his pace, not wanting to attack too much.
And it looks like, yeah, that was the fastest lap of the race. So there's 2 more bonus points for Teemu. Unfortunately, not really in the championship hunt. He missed the first 3 rounds, missed round 5 at Mosport, and is yet to win, but he looks likely to change that today if he can keep it on track.
Indeed, Joe, but as we know at the ring, that is oftentimes easier said than done. About a lap and a quarter for Teemu. Still yet to drive here, but he has got to keep this thing pointed the right way.
Checking to see if he's also coming up on any lap traffic here. And it looks like, yeah, he's a little ways away. So that can also kind of throw a wrench in things if he comes across a car that's not going to leap out of the way very quickly. And there goes Vascalampi. He's off. He's into the wall. And now Severi Seppa is our new leader. Vascalampi had a bit of a hit, but how much is the damage?
It looks pretty bad, Joe. That rear wing is very, very crumpled. It looks like the car is crabbing a bit as well. Going to try to continue on, but let's watch this replay. Just another self-enforced error there. Oh, you can see how much on the ragged edge he was. Driving that car almost perfectly sideways through the mini carousel and runs it wide, catches onto the grass, and spins him.
It looked like once it started going around, he kind of high centered on the edge of the circuit. This is from Seppa's perspective. Saw it in time, thankfully. Just went across the smoke and had enough to the right side to get through. Severi Seppa qualified from 4th and taking the white flag with 1 to go. Now finds himself the leader.
Patience is a virtue, and that's exactly what Severi Seppa was able to demonstrate here today. Still has a lap to go, but Joe, I'm checking back on Vascalampi's car. He has continued on. That car is severely crabbing. It looks like the steering wheel, he's having to put it at about 5 degrees to the right of center. There you can see it. Definitely some suspension damage. Looks like it's mainly on the rear of the car, so we're to really watch out for this. You can see how hard it is. Yeah, major damage to the right rear there. When he gets through the fast-flowing sections of the ring itself out on the Nordschleife, that is going to really, really bite him. If he is able to finish this race with this car like this, give him more bonus points, because that will be amazing.
Now, he's got a huge gap back to Christoph Weitz. It's nearly half a minute right now. So he does have leeway, but the way that car is handling, I kind of wonder if it will be much slower, 30 seconds slower than his typical lap time. I'll be impressed if he does simply get it around without wrecking it again. But a podium is potentially on the cards. It's another 6.5, 7 seconds to Maisani before he falls off the podium. From Christoph Weitz back to Fabrizio, rather. And we watch our leader sliding through the corner onto the Nordschleife. Severi Seppa has now got himself clear track in front. Does he take it easy, or does he continue pushing hard?
Well, Joe, I mean, if I'm in Seppa's shoes at this point, I am in full coast mode. I know I have an effective gap of about 35 seconds back to the first non-damaged car of Christoph Weitz. So I think he's going to try to take it a little bit easy, but the way he was hanging the tail out around that corner, doesn't look like what Severi's doing right now.
I know some drivers say they can't really slow the pace down too much, or else it's even more dangerous, throwing all of their timing off on the corners. Wonder if Severi's one of those. Let's ride with the Williams here through one of the fastest parts of the track. You can see reaching 180 miles an hour nearly before onto the binders into Ehrenberg. Can sometimes offer passing, and then you start to drop elevation down into the valley, into compression and the foxhole.
And Joe, you raise a really good point about trying to keep the speed up with the ground effects on these Lotuses. One of the crucial things is that they handle better the faster you go. The more air you can get flowing over these wings and under the car itself, it makes them so much easier to control.
Well, our only battle now at this stage that we can see on track is Delmuth and Herner for 12th and 13th. Whoa, and Herner just went off. Herner went off in a big way. He's going to stay out of the barriers. The 18 manages to get it back on track, but he spins it around yet again. And this happened into the very first corner on the last lap.
Indeed, it did. A little bit early for donuts there from Herner, but still doing his best. Let's watch what happens. Comes down. Now, this is obviously Sanchez with that damage in front of him. He's going to be losing a little bit of downforce. Goes in very, very late on the brakes. And yeah, just massive overcook there, but a good job. Little bit of contact on the rear wall, it looked like, on that tire. Yeah, you can see it from Fernandez's perspective here. Delmuth rather, very, very smart driving to go, yeah, you're going to come in too fast. I'm just going to let you go.
So we're about a quarter of the way through the lap now. Vascalampi has only lost about 6 seconds, I'm seeing, to Christoph Weitz. He's still hustling pretty hard. Here he is on screen now. Let's ride on board with him. This has got to be a much more interesting ride compared to what we saw with Sepra.
Very much so. There you see, and you're seeing the counter steering he's really having to put in coming off of the corners, that rear of the car, wanting to break away from him. Very, very heads up. As we've said, the suspension, the aero damage, really, really hurting him. It sounds like he's got some toe damage in particular on that car.
Would you be willing to run at 164 with a car that's crabbing sideways up the hill at the ring?
Not at all. I would have given up about 5 laps ago, I think.
This is absolutely crazy. He's 16 seconds behind Seppa, but still about 20 seconds ahead of Weitz. Another 2 seconds gone. I think he's actually got a realistic shot of pulling this off.
He very well might. As this was one of the big challenges I was worried about for him, is getting through the carousel that tends to upset these cars a lot, but able to handle it quite well. He may be able to do this, knock on wood. He's still got a lot of the track here to go, though.
Yes, he does. This is on essentially one of the highest parts of the course before it all starts heading right back downhill once again. And here is Severi Seppa still whipping that car around the track, tail hanging out around many of the corners, through the ice curve, a crest, and then back down to Flansgarden, one of the few places where you can see these cars get a little bit of air, just a tiny hop, and then continuing on, looking towards the Beloff S's, named after the driver who for many years held the track record here.
The great Stefan Beloff there, as you can see him coming through across that famous graffiti that now covers a large chunk of the Nordschleife, coming around here as he makes his way through the left-hander into the mini carousel now. Only a little bit more to go for Severi Seppa.
What a fantastic race for the Finn. We've cycled through a couple of them on who could potentially win this race. As he reaches the Dottinger Hoa, he is almost home free. He can just about smell victory lane as he starts to once again go faster and faster, foot to the floor, 175. Starts to top out at about that speed, it looks like. So that seems to be about as quick as he can go. But he's got 22 seconds over Teemu Vaskalampi after that incident from the 6. Very well clear of his nearest rival into Hohenrad and Tiergarten. The car slows up for the final time through the chicanes and now starts to accelerate away. Severi Seppa is your winner here today at the Nürburgring. Vaskalampi still has about 13 seconds, and he is just through Antonius Beach right now, so he's definitely got plenty of gap behind. Jack Sanchez, who we ride on board with, still fighting for position late in the race.
Still trying to go forward as they make their way through the carousel. That is Kloft ahead of him. He now knows his best opportunity is going to be trying to get the pass down the long straight.
Vaskalampi finishes in second ahead of Christoph Weitz. I'm curious what the timing is going to be, as Christoph still celebrating on that one. He was 10 seconds clear in the end. It was that tight after he had about 30 seconds before. So what's going to happen between Kloft and Sanchez? This is our only fight left on the track. Elijah with about half a second clearance.
And one interesting thing as I'm watching these two cars, whoa, there goes Kloft trying to get a drift on, doesn't get it, sneaks on through to Sanchez.
I think there was a tiny bit of a touch there. So he's able to get by. That was through Brunchin.
Indeed it was. We check out the replay here. The grass catching out Kloft there. Let's watch and see. I think he may have snaked through that, Joe.
Wow. So ahead of them, more of them finishing: Suarez, Redente, Bell, Cortiniemi, all across the line. And Sanchez is now about 2.7 seconds ahead of Kloft. They made just a little bit of contact from that angle there. Just the right rear of Sanchez. I think he's okay. Kloft is starting to regain a bit. Now, if Jack's straight line speed is too effective, Elijah might be able to go right back past.
He might. Both of those cars do have a little bit of rear wing damage, and I do believe that Sanchez has a little bit of front wing as well. So here now, the gap at about 1.1 seconds, that is going to be enough for Cloth to be able to claw in if that car is able to do so. Gap down to 9/10.
Yeah, Sanchez is limping. I don't think he's going to be able to hold off Elijah here. He himself could have a little bit of damage, but doesn't matter. It's as long as he's quicker, he's gaining. He's not gaining as quickly as I thought he would. He's got the slipstream, so that's going to help him a lot now. But he might run out of track. Can he get by him before they get to the finish line? He catches up into the braking through Tiergarten. Now, out of the final corner, he's trying to get the power down. Is this going to be enough? It's a drag race to the line as he pulls out and they come across. It is going to be Sanchez ahead of Kloft by about 1/10 of a second. What a run for them. No battles from here on out, so we're going to take a break and step aside. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around because there's more show to come.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12-Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Well, here at the Nürburgring, we just watched the 7th round of the season for the Sunday Grand Prix Series in the Lotus 79 community. And it was Severi Seppa who took the win. But it was a shocker up at the front as we saw the lead change hands 3 times. Vascalampi finished second, but that was with incredible damage on the car. He started on the pole, lost it to Shimon, and then wrecked partway through with about a lap and a half to go. Christoph Weitz was happy with third, considering he fell back with a spin at the very first corner of the race. Massani was fourth behind him, and Suarez finished P5, climbing up from 13th. Similar climb for Redente from 14th to 6th. Nick Bell, 15th to 7th. Then you get to an incredible run from Topi Cortiniemi from 25th to 8th. Mateo Fernandez was P9, and Jack Sanchez grabs the top 10.
Coming home in 11th was Elijah Cloth, followed by Thomas Delmuth, Keith Herner in 13th, Nicholas Kochi behind him in 14th, Kyle Graham in 15th, despite running out of fuel, as we heard him say over the radio. Barry West was able to bring the car home in 16th, followed by Corgaloo in 17th, and then Adio, Parigi, and Shimon all finishing a lap down at the pits.
Down from there, it is DNFs all the way to the bottom, as these are the drivers that did not survive the ring. Our driver that did survive, but barely, was our second place finisher, Teemu Vaskalampi, who now joins us in the booth. And Teemu, second place, but it sounds like what cost you is not necessarily a mental error, but a biological cause.
Yeah, just too hot and didn't have time to set up AC and stuff. Last 1.5 laps, my eyes were full of sweat, and inside my VR headset, that was very painful and quite impossible to drive. Quite annoyed about that. I was pretty sure that I can take the win. I could have gone faster, and I felt like I was driving safe, and I was able to pull some gap when I needed to. Of course, our pace was very similar, so one little mistake and he could have got me anyways. But yeah, well, lucky anyways that I was able to finish at all. I had quite heavy damage after that.
We were pretty amazed that you ran the pace you did to keep that second place. Before you took the lead, though, you mentioned kind of taking it easy. We saw an incredible pace jump once you were free of Simone. Was that kind of exemplary of just how much you were holding up behind him?
I was struggling behind him in some parts of the track. I haven't driven much behind people, and maybe the dirty air, maybe his lines were mixing my things. I'm not sure, but I felt like I can go faster. But also I was aware that he probably can challenge me at the start, because I had very long first gear and he probably had much shorter. So that happened, but I was just trying to find how to drive behind him, the critical parts before long straight, that I can challenge him at some point. We will never know if I would I be able to do that. But yeah, second place anyways.
Yeah, that's got to be some sort of relief, I imagine, considering the trials of today. Well, you've had spotty attendance this season, so it's still not your first win yet. Do you think you can finally crack that barrier at Spa next week?
I don't know. I'm not that strong at Spa. I think at Thomas, and let's see if I can fight against that Thomas and Andy there. I don't know any promises.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you regardless, as you certainly looked good here today, and congratulations on a podium.
Thanks.
So up next, I believe we've got third place Christoph Weitz, and DJ has caught up with him.
Indeed, Christoph, we just heard from Teemu on just how physical of a race that was from him. Got to assume it was the same from your perspective.
Yeah, first of all, good evening. Yeah, it was very intense. The first 2 laps were like war in the green hell. It was a hell of a ride. Had a good start. I think was 4th in turn 1 and got pushed into the gravel. And entering the Nordschleife on P13. That was not what I expected. But yeah, it was fun.
So I'm curious in terms of running this track in particular, when getting out into the Nordschleife, not exactly known for the most ample of passing opportunities. Did that spin and being farther back in the order, did that change your mentality about how you were approaching the race? Did it maybe put you on a little bit more of attack mode, or were you running the same strategy you were thinking from the drop of the green flag?
Yeah, first of all, it was my intention to have a clean race to survive the 7 laps on a tough track. But I think my heartbeat in the first 2 laps were close to 200. I don't know how often I was in the grass. But luckily I survived it.
Well, more power to you, man, because I can tell you, I think if I was in that position, I would have towed out and been angry with the session and left. But, looking ahead at the schedule, I think we're headed out to Spa next, another old school circuit. What do you expect from that long modern circuit?
I think I won't drive it. So from my perspective, I expect nothing. But I think it's also a great combination for the cars and the drivers. So I think Timo had a good pace, and it can be great to watch.
Well, fantastic. We'll be watching it for sure. And congratulations again, Christoph, on a really, really great recovery drive today.
Yeah, thank you. Also, I want to thank Jürgen Frank. He was the man behind the wall on the pits, and he managed me through the big carnage behind the Flugplatz. And yeah, it was more or less quite lucky.
Always good to have those people out there for you. Christoph, congratulations again. That was your third place finisher, Christoph Weitz, and now Joe Peak has caught up with Fabrizio Massani.
Yes, with a fourth place. And Fabrizio, you saw a lot of battles throughout this race. It's hard enough just driving around the ring by yourself. What's it like from your perspective, having to dice with other cars on top of it?
Oh, it's really, really hard on this because I was focused just to don't make mistakes and try to keep a good pace. And after I made mistake in first corner, I very sorry for Christoph. I'm happy that he could recover and take him the podium because there was a guy in front, I think Nicola, that didn't start it, and there was an empty place on the grid. So I lost the braking point at turn one, but still at the end Christopher back. So I'm happy of this. And for my race, as I said, it was just to keep focus and try to don't make mistake. Also, I think I had car not 100%, but at the end, when I arrived Christoph behind, I know that he was faster than me, and so I haven't fight with him. So I'm happy of fourth place.
Now, we've had a lot of racing here at the ring in recent weeks at iRacing. Did you take part in the 24, or is this where you kind of draw the line in your participation at this track?
No, I made also some other races. The 24 hours I made last year with my team, but this year I'm focused on just on Lotus 79. I adore this car, and I gave up a bit with the endurance. So I haven't made this year, but with the fact that I prepared for last year 24 hours, I know the track very well, and with the Spa is my second favorite track.
Oh, if Spa's your specialty, then, you managed a fourth today. Is a podium or even potentially, maybe, dare we say, a win possible for you?
No, I don't have the pace for win, but I hope to continue to improve as I'm doing in the last races. I think in Spa would be good to repeat the result of today. I would be super happy, because also I think that this race was a bit for place a bit lucky, because I've done a lot of things, but as pace I think I was more for top 8 if everyone was going without problems. In Spa, let's hope to be a bit better, and as I said, repeat again another good result would be wonderful.
Well, congratulations on a top 5 to add to your stats, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again over in Belgium.
Thanks to you for the broadcast, and see you in Belgium.
That was Fabrizio in the number 15 today with a 4th place, and that's going to wrap us up with a big thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But we also want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen to find out where her Bandcamp is and get a hold of more of her music. Thanks to the team today, DJ, Ryan, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media through the outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. And if you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. Link is in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, will be Spa, Sunday, May 9th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. But we will also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. A little bit later this evening, the Majors Nürburgring 2.4 will be at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's the Americas region. We've had the European region going on throughout today. In fact, it might still be on as I see our team just above us in the booth next door. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.